going to be our most advanced lesson yet. It's still pretty basic, but I want you to feel comfortable in Illustrator now that you've learned some of the tools and get started drawing something that can look fairly advanced but still using very simple shapes. I started with a sketch just for reference, and I just used my iPad and sketched out a couple of fruits here. I have a watermelon slice, a couple of cherries, and an apple. We are going to start with that. If you would like to take some time and to sketch your own fruits to use to follow along, you can. And you can even take a picture of this on a piece of paper and import it in. It's just for reference. It doesn't have to be a big deal, and you're going to completely transform these by the end. So let's get started. I have my sketch imported into the computer. I'm just going to click and drag it over onto my artboard. If you do not know how to place JPEGs into Illustrator, you can also go to File, Place, and navigate to where that file is saved. I often just drag things over. I'm on a PC and I'm really used to just clicking and dragging things from the Finder window. So I have my sketch here in Illustrator. I'm going to scale it up just a little bit, and using my layers over here on the side, I'm going to lock this layer so my sketch doesn't move around, and clicking on that square with the plus sign, I'm going to create a new layer, and this is where I'm going to start my drawing. So I will first begin with this watermelon, and that's going to be my main focus of this tutorial. So I look at this watermelon slice, and one thing I'm going to do is create a half circle. I'm going to start with the ellipse tool, and holding shift, clicking, pressing, and dragging, I'm going to make a circle that's roughly about the same size as this watermelon shape. Now I have a white fill selected, so it's hard to see my sketch behind that. I'm just going to switch over for right now to using just an outlined ellipse. Now there are a couple ways I can do this. I could slice the circle right in half using the scissors, and that is a pretty easy way to do it when following the sketch. I can also use the pathfinder and lay shapes over the top to cut and trim. But right now I'm just going to trim right here. It's about at that corner, and then trim right here. And then holding command and clicking on the other half of the circle, that will change. Holding command changes my scissor tool to the selection arrow. And I will click over here on the other side of the circle and then just hit delete on my keyboard. Now I'm going to grab my pen tool over here. I want you to get very comfortable with the pen tool. It's a great tool to use, and I use the command key and I click that, and now it's selected, and I click on that first point with my pen tool, and now my pen tool is going to complete this shape for me, and you will see I'm aligned perfectly because that little circle underneath the pen tool shows up, and I'm going to click there, and now I have this half circle for my watermelon shape. Now watermelons have a couple of layers. They have the outer green, they have the white rind, and then the inside pink juicy part. So I'm going to duplicate this half circle 3 times. First off, I'm just going to make it a green shape here. I'm going to get rid of the background color, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull some colors over here in my palette to use for this. I want a pinkish color, that I can use for the watermelon. I'm going to pick about 2 tones for everything so I can add a little gradient to this and even give it a little more depth. So I've got my outside of the watermelon, I've got 2 pink tones that I'm going to use here. I'm even going to create just like a light rind color, and I'll make 2 tones of that as well. So maybe one's a little bit more yellow than the other. Oops. And I see here that doesn't look quite different enough, so I'm just going to adjust it even a little bit more. And then I'll delete that one right there. So I've got these colors that I'm going to use as I work through the tutorial. Again, right now I still have this big half circle selected on my watermelon. It has an outline stroke around it, which I do not want, so I'm just going to come over here to the toolbar. You can go back to the swatches and click no and get rid of that outline. So again, I'm clicking and selecting with the selection arrow on this big green half circle. I'm going to hit Command C and then hit Command F, and copy and paste another circle directly in front. Now you'll see if I change the color of this half circle and click and drag, you will see there are actually two shapes here. But using key commands, I can do the same thing here by just going to Object, or Edit, sorry, Edit Copy, and Edit Paste in front. But doing that with a key command is a really quick, simple way to get the hang of that. I'm going to copy that circle, and now I'm going to use my scale tool and click right in the middle of that, and holding Shift, clicking, and dragging, I'm going to make a smaller circle on the inside of that. And then I'm going to copy and paste in front one more time and make that a pinky color. My scale tool is still where I wanted it to be, holding Shift, clicking and dragging. I'm going to make another layer, which will be the inside pink part of the watermelon. Now, just to give it a little depth and make it a little more interesting, I'm going to use my gradient tool down here. So you'll see as I had the green part selected with my selection arrow and I clicked on the gradient tool, it defaulted to what I already had selected, which was the grayscale. I want this to be green, so I'm going to drag my green color down here. I don't want this black here any longer, so I click and just drag that away. Click press and drag. And then I'm going to add this darker green to the other side, and I'm going to fill in that white. So you'll see what I just did. If you have a color here that you do not want, you can click and drag it away. If you would just like to replace a color that's already there, you can click and just hold it right over the top of that. But I'm just going to make my gradients with two colors. I will do the same thing to the middle one. I'm going to use my gradient tool and use this light peachy color and then fill in the two sides, and then again with my inside of the watermelon, I want it to be pink, and there you go. I have a three-toned watermelon. I kept my dark color on the same side and the light color on the other side, so if I turn off this layer, you'll see I'm off to a good start creating a watermelon shape in Illustrator with just three basic shapes. Now, I want my watermelon here in the sketch to look like somebody took a bite out of it. So I'm going to do that, again, just using the ellipse tool. I'm going to select white from my swatches, and I'm just going to come over here and make 1, 2, 3 bites. So it looks like there was just a bite taken out of that watermelon. Now, if I use my selection tool again and grab each of those 3 circles, I can come over here and use the shape builder tool, and I can make these into one shape. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm now going to select this bite shape along with these 3 pieces of the watermelon, and using the pathfinder over here, I'm just going to trim that, and then I'm going to take my direct selection arrow and just eliminate that shape that I trimmed so that I have just my watermelon shape with that bite out of it. So you'll see, if I back up here, this is the shape I just made with the 3 ellipses and the bite, and it's currently combined with the watermelon shape. Now I don't need that shape any longer. It was just there to help me build the shape of that bite, so that's why I'm going to use the direct selection arrow, just drag the points and hit delete twice to get rid of all of those points, and when I do that, you see my template back in there. Now the last thing I'm going to do to make this watermelon a little more detailed are add these seeds. So if I turn my layer back on, actually let me turn it off a second so you can see. A seed shape as I drew it is essentially a teardrop shape. So a real easy way to do that again, I'm going to make my seeds black, is just to make a circle, and then using my direct selection arrow, I'm only going to click on that top point of the circle. Let me zoom in here so you can see even better. So I have a circle here, get the direct selection arrow, I'm going to click that top point and I'm going to drag it up so I make a little watermelon seed shape. And there you go, it's that simple. You don't even have to combine any other shape. You just start with a little circle, you select that top point and you drag it up and you have a really nice seed shape. Now I'm only going to use one seed shape and duplicate that multiple times so that I have some consistency. So I'm going to put one here and then I'm going to turn it and then I'm going to click, Command, Option, drag, and then I will rotate it again here. Command, Option, drag, rotate that again here. And I have, turn off my template layer, I have a really nice looking watermelon slice that was fairly easy to create, just doing some basic steps, adding some gradients, and simple shapes. I'm going to move on to the cherry, and I'm going to click here and grab some red, and I'm just going to make one circle, then I'm going to make another circle. And to get that little indentation, I'm just going to use my direct selection arrow again, and this time I'm going to bring it down and bring these up a little bit more. And once I've done that, I'm going to shift this anchor point. So if you click here, anchor point tool, and I'm going to turn this into a hard point. So I can get that little indentation. And then really all I'm going to do, once I've got this one the way I like it, I'm just going to move this one over. And I'm going to make a leaf shape now by grabbing the green, making a square, using this selection arrow, and only grabbing one point from each side and dragging that in. And there you go, there's my leaf. If you missed that, let me do that one more time. I'm using the direct selection arrow, holding down shift and dragging and grabbing each corner, grabbing this circle, let me zoom in for you. And then bringing those in. And I have a really simple, easy leaf shape just by making a square. Rotate it. And then just change that fill to a stroke. I'm going to make it there we go. So now I have a couple of cherries and a nice slice of watermelon. And let's see, if we want to add a little detail to this cherry, we can add maybe a little highlight to it. So again, using our gradient tool, I will drag down my red color, maybe a darker red color, and a little just give it a little bit of radial depth there. And then I can just grab my other cherry using my eyedropper and grab it and make it the same exact way. Now this leaf might be nice if it was two-tone, so I'm going to show you another trick here. I'm going to, using my pen tool and zooming in, I'm going to start at the very top, and it's okay that I'm outside this leaf shape, and come down and cross right in the middle of that leaf. And then I'm just going to click around it. It's okay if it's not exact or it's sloppy. And then I'm going to make this shape a little bit darker green. Now, using my selection arrow, I'm going to click on my leaf shape and copy and paste it in front again. So that just pasted it right in front of the leaf behind it, but I want it to be on the very top, so I did Command Shift bracket. You can also do these same steps by going up to Object or Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in front, Object, Transform or Arrange, Bring to front, and now I have it in the front. So I have 3 shapes here, and I'm going to just click and drag, and all 3 of those will be selected, and then I'm going to hit Command 7, make a clipping mask, and I have that 2-tone leaf. It's that simple. Okay, so let's refocus on this apple shape over here, and let's see, I'm going to do the same thing with this apple by starting off with one big circle. Now, I want it to be a little bit more of an oval shape, not perfectly round. So I'm just going to use these endpoints and not hold shift and just drag it around till it fills that space a little bit more. And then just so you can see, I'll use the outline version of this. I'm going to click this point, and I'm going to change this point instead of a curved point. Again, I'm going to change it to more of a hard point, and I just use this tool right here, and it's tucked behind the pen tool, anchor point tool, and I click on that. Now I can drag this point, and I can drag it down to where I want it, and then if I grab the toggle of this point, I can bring that up. I can bring this one up, and I can adjust these till they're the shape of the apple the way I like it, and I can get that roundness or ovalness where I want it, but I still can get that dip in there. If you're ever having trouble not getting these to really go where you want them to, try adjusting a point that's along the line. Sometimes you can't do it with just one point. You got to adjust a couple of them. But there you go. I have a pretty nice oval shape with that little dip from the apple. I'm going to make this apple green since we have some red cherries going on here. And let's see, I just want it to dip a little bit more. And then you might even want to add a point if it's not quite where you want it. So I'm going to add a little point here, add a little point here. Now I have that really nice apple shape with that top dip. And then I just drew my stem kind of like a weird rectangular shape. So let's see, I think we'll just mimic that with the pen tool, and I'll just go up, hit that point, over hit that point, drag it down, hit that point, and then close my shape. And then just grab like a brownish color from my palette. And then I will just go to Object Arrange, Send to Back, and put that in the back there. So you'll see here, I have 3 shapes, pretty easily made. I'm not going to add too much detail this one yet. I think you get the idea. You can use these gradients, you can use basic shapes, you can use clipping masks, and layer these up together. Now if I want to do something else to add a little more detail, let's focus back on this watermelon for a second. And we can add things like little lines to give the seeds a little shiny look. And then I can, using my stroke tool, change that to a rounded edge to give it more of that illustrated look. And then I can combine this by clicking and rotating, or it would actually be much easier just to duplicate the seeds all over again. And then you can add another little line to the cherry. Wherever you want, just give it some personality. Change the stroke so it feels like it's equally weighted. and just keep working on your fruit shapes until they're where you want them. But you can do a lot with just these first basic tools. I hope you feel empowered. I hope you can go through and create. You can use that watermelon. You can also make it an orange slice. Whatever you are feeling, go forward, use the skill. Good luck.